everyone! Thank you for coming to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Valentine's Day wreath. This one was requested by a lady who just wanted something red, white, and fluffy for Valentine's Day and told me to just be creative and do whatever I thought looked nice. So for this wreath, I used an 18-inch frame, 1.5 rolls of 10-inch deco mesh, some pipe cleaners, and hot glue. Just wanted to say also, I'm not a professional by any means. This is just something I like to do for fun in my own way. I've kind of tailored a lot of things to what works best for me and what I think looks the best. So I'm going to show you here what I like to do and how I make them. To start off, I take a pipe cleaner and I cut it in half, and that's what I'm using to attach to the frame. That's what your mesh is going to sit in. So I put them on the two middle bars, and you'll see here in a second what I mean by that. But you're gonna have two inside the middle there, and that's gonna be your inside, which is towards the middle of the wreath, and then your outside, which is towards the outside of the wreath. And I use hot glue for these inside pieces just so they stay exactly where I want them to and they're not sliding around everywhere. And center them where I want them. And you only need to twist these once or twice just to get them on the frame. You don't need to twist them real hard. And then these outside pipe cleaners, I just put them along this little bar here. And same thing, just twist once or twice. And once it's all done, it will look something like this. You will have 8 pipe cleaners on the outside, which is your middle ring on the outside, and 8 on your inside. So basically you have one inside piece in between every outside piece. It'll look like it's alternating, and that's what you want. So I didn't realize I wasn't recording until the very end of this wreath, but you'll start on just the inside pipe cleaners first. And then once you're back to your starting point, you'll jump behind to the closest outside pipe cleaner and loop all the way around the outside 2 to 3 times. But the good thing about this wreath is there's no cutting until you're completely finished. So this little piece right here is kind of like the tail part of your mesh, and that's what's going to start this whole thing. So you're going to gather up the beginning part of your roll of deco mesh, and you're going to secure that in there with the pipe cleaner. Then I usually line up my pipe cleaners with my ruler, and I measure out 12 inches, but I keep it loose. That way it's kind of fluffy and you can play with it a bit. And then you stretch that over to the next pipe cleaner and tie that down. You don't want to tie them down too tight just yet. It's a lot easier to work on your wreath when your pipe cleaners are loose as opposed to tightening them down every time, because it just takes longer and it makes it more difficult. I promise it's not going to fall apart. Once all of your mesh is on your frame, it'll probably look like this, but don't worry, the most important part was just getting all of that onto your frame. And you're probably wondering what we're doing with these pipe cleaners still sticking out. You can either clip those off or fold them down like I just did there. Whichever one works best for you. I normally just fold mine down. But next I'm going to show you how to fluff your mesh to get that nice poofy look. So to start fluffing your wreath, I start on the inside pipe cleaners again, and these are your loops. This is what they'll look like after everything's on. I just go through the whole inside first and kind of unravel it because it does get tangled in on itself, and just go around the whole way. And then after the inside is completely fluffed, I start on the outside and do the same thing. Once you've gone through and puffed up every piece of your mesh, it'll look like this. And don't worry if it's still not perfect, because it's gonna move anyways with putting our bow on, our signs, and any of our decorations. So once everything's completely on there, you can always rearrange and fluff out more parts of it. The next thing I do when trying to decorate the wreath is I usually just lay out everything that I'm planning on using, just so I can get the colors right, make sure it matches. I went ahead and made this bow beforehand because I'm not the best at bows, but I did find a way that works for me. I do need to cut the bottoms of those, or as they're called, dovetail, but I made the bow beforehand. Maybe I'll make a video on how I do those. I usually lay my sign out. Since it is a bit longer, I'm probably gonna keep it to the side here. That way it's not taking up too much of the middle. And then I always lay out all of my decorations before I glue anything down, just to get a good idea of how it's gonna look. Is it gonna match right? And I think this looks pretty good. So this is gonna be my starting point. So now I will show you how I attach most of my signs. I just use 2 pipe cleaners and fold them in half. And this is where hot glue is going to become your best friend. And then I just kind of put them where I want. And for this sign, I'm going more towards the middle. And I always put a little bit of hot glue on the bottom. It just seems to help hold everything in place a little bit better. Don't worry, I did not burn my fingers doing this. I just pressed down a little bit so that that doesn't start to lift up. And then I always add a pretty good bit on the top just to keep that pipe cleaner on there. And then I do hold them down for just a few seconds until it starts to catch. That way I know that that front part's not gonna start to bend up. Then since these two are so close together, I'm just gonna move this one out of the way, and I'm gonna repeat the same exact thing for this second pipe cleaner, and I'm gonna let both of these dry completely before putting them on my wreath. Next, I'm taking these heart picks and I'm taking them out of the picks, and all you have to do is just twist them a little bit. You don't want to just rip them straight out or you're going to get a big chunk taken out, since these are just little styrofoam hearts, which is exactly what I did to this one at first, but we can fix it with a little hot glue and some glitter. And now that our sign is completely dry, I'm going to show you how I attach these. We're just going to take these pipe cleaners and attach it to the frame just like our mesh. And I usually go in between the bars here. It's okay if it's on top of your mesh. You just want it to be kind of snug in there. And with these pipe cleaners, you can tighten them down the whole way because you do want your sign to stay in place. And once you have both of your pipe cleaners from your sign attached, I just go back through and really make sure they're tightened down. And I fold up the pipe cleaners and make sure everything looks good on the back here. Then I add my bow, and I do the same exact thing with that pipe cleaner. And once your bow is on there, you can do the same thing that you did with your mesh. You can twist them to the positions you want them in. You can fluff them up. I don't really pay too much attention to the bow until it's on the wreath, and then I go ahead and straighten my sign, and I do usually end up hot gluing that as well, just to keep it in place so it's not falling off. Then on to the decorations, and as I mentioned earlier, these are styrofoam, so if you're hot gluing them, you have to make sure either your glue is not very hot or you have your glue gun up high enough that you're not going to melt through your styrofoam decorations and your mesh. So after that, I kind of just place these around. And then these little white hearts are actually stickers. So anytime I have stickers, I always peel the backing off, and I do put hot glue on it just because if it's going on someone's outside door, I don't want anything to just rip the backing off and then lose all of your decorations. So now I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue these. I have a bunch of different sizes. I'm just going to spread them out in between the red hearts, maybe put a couple over by the sign. And once that's all done, this wreath is complete. And here is the final product. This is everything that I did to create this Valentine's Day wreath. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks, bye!